Welcome to the Carl Watts Golf Daily Live episode 3 today. Now I will just wait a couple of minutes just to allow people to log on this evening. But as ever, our mission, if you like, with these sort of quick 5, 10, 15 minute daily lives is to give you tips and insights that you could literally take straight onto the course that can help you to save a shot or two straight away. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at today is a bit of an insight into the US Open, which is starting tomorrow, and about the types of shots that they're going to be using out there. And as we know, at the US Open, what they tend to do is really trick up the golf courses. So there tends to be an awful lot of rough out there, and obviously very deep as well. But so one of the things that we'll all get to face when we're out actually on the golf course is maybe not as thick as the US Open, but thick enough to cause all sorts of problems for us. But one of the key things with playing out of rough is actually just understanding some of the basic principles and actually what you've got to do to give yourself the best chance. So today's question has come from Danny, who is basically a low single-figure handicap player, and what he's wanted to know is how he can be more effective out of rough, what he can do to just make it more consistent and to not drop some of the shots he has done. So when he's reviewed his rounds over the last 2 or 3 rounds, it became obvious that some of the shots he lost because potentially he was trying to be a bit too aggressive. The ball came out very low in the left a couple of times, which tends to happen out of the rough because the rough flips the club face closed, and the hosel club just wraps over, and it's very common. So what can you do to counter it? So there are a few key points to playing out the rough that I think will really help you. Now, number one is what you want to do as much as you can at setup is alter the setup. So from a setup perspective, if we're looking at setup here, is number one, you want to put the ball back. Now, ball slightly back in your stance is going to help you create a slightly steeper angle of attack, which means that you're going to get to the ball first. You're also wanting to put your weight forward. Okay, so that means towards your front foot. So from a setup perspective, you're looking for a couple of key principles that are really easy to do that will help you to create, like I say, a slightly steeper angle of attack. Now, ball back and weight forward are two things that will definitely help you. So to help you understand why, is if this is the rough and your ball is sitting in here. Now, when you're playing a normal shot, what you'll tend to do is when you swing at the golf ball, you'll swing a little bit more from this angle. Yeah, this is going to be a slightly shallower angle, and the problem you're going to have when you're actually doing that is that the rough is going to be, you're going to catch an awful lot of the rough between the ball and the club face. So if you imagine, if you put the ball back in your stance, it's going to help create a steeper angle, which is coming down this way. If you put the weight forward, that will also create a slightly steeper angle for you. So by setting up in this manner, we're going to now start to attack the ball more from above rather than from the side, which is what most people tend to do. Now, if you start attacking the ball, what we want is attacking ball from here, what else can we do? So we've now looked at how we can adjust the setup to do this. But remember, we're trying to come from this angle rather than the more shallow angle. What type of swing could you put on it? Now, I'm sure quite a few of you are watching. Some of you will be well rehearsed in potentially the slice motion, and some of you may be the other way and maybe get more of a draw or a hook. Now, when you understand shape management or how you create a type of shape, this also can help you when you're playing out of rough like this. So when you're standing there and you're, say, trying to hit a driver off the tee, you're going to try and hit a little bit more up on the ball. You might even have a swing which is a little bit more from in to out, which helps you to hit up because it's high up on the tee peg. Now that's ideal for when you're trying to hit a driver, trying to get distance and so on, and you're trying to draw it. However, when you're out of rough, the ideal swing is going to be the slicer's swing. And the slicer's swing is basically a swing, if I can put something up here, so this is the flag, this is you with the ball. When you slice the ball, you swing to the left, so you have an out to in swing, and you leave the club face open, which creates the shape working back into the flag. Now, that's how you slice it. Now, the beauty of understanding that, combined with ball back, weight forward, is that if you now start playing that type of action, the sort of slicing action, you now have a great chance of attacking that ball and coming from a steep angle. So not only are you now swinging a little out to in, that creates more of a steeper angle, you're going to hit more down on the ball again, which means you're not going to hit all this rough here, you're going to come in much closer to the ball, which means you've got more chance of getting the ball out. Now, because you're now playing more that slicer's action, the out to in with the face open, you can now stand there confidently trying to play like a bit more of a fade or a slicing motion, which also stops the club flipping over you and going left. So there's nothing worse than when you're maybe just off the fairway, you're just in the rough, you then stand there and you don't understand those principles, and you play the normal shot, the rough gets in the way, it flips the club face and the ball goes 5 or 6 yards just to the left of you, and more often than not you can even lose it and it's only just a few yards away. So, key shot that they will be using throughout the US Open this week, and what you're going to find is someone like a Bryson DeChambeau, who obviously won last year, his bomb and gouge it technique, which is obviously highly effective, and he's going to be using it again this week. The reason he can do that with such confidence is that when he is playing the shots out of the rough, when he's bombed it sort of 350 down there, is that he's got this type of technique and he's hitting wedges out of there as well. So he can play and actually gain some sort of real control out of the rough. So what I would encourage you to do, just to have a bit of a recap here as to how do you take this tip to the course immediately, is just have a little bit of a reference guide. And what I mean by that is when you pick up the odd tip that you think, actually that's something I've not heard of before, I would encourage you to jot down the basic principles that we're running through here, have like a little notebook or have it on your phone, etc., and just keep track of them so you can remind yourself and go, okay, hang on, what did Carl say, how should I play this shot? So just to recap again, you're at the US Open or you're at your club, you've now pulled it into, say, some rough. You'd rather advance it, say, 70, 80, 90, 100 yards with confidence rather than suddenly move it 5 or 10 yards and then suddenly potentially lose the ball and so on. So, put the ball slightly back. That means you're going to come in from a steeper angle. Put weight slightly forward. You're going to come in more from a steeper angle. Swing more out to in. Create more of a slicer's action, a more steeper angle, which means you're going to come at the ball much closer to the ball rather than being affected by all of this rough here. So I'm convinced that is going to help most players out there, because again, when I ask the question, how would you play this shot and how would you teach it, most amateurs wouldn't come up with that process or with that principle. For most people, they're not too sure what to do, and this is what these daily lives are all about. It's about just one tip at a time, something you can take away and go, right, I'm going to put that in the memory banks, I'm going to jot it down, and I will remember that the next time I am in a rough, because there will be certain holes that generally you might end up in that position. Now, one thing I will add to this as well is just make sure you're not overly aggressive. So take a club that is, if it is clearly sitting down, take a club that is more like a gap wedge or a pitch wedge, potentially a 9-iron when it's sitting down. But anything above that is going to be more difficult to get the ball out. So take your medicine, get yourself out of the rough, and I think you're going to find it very, very, very helpful for you. So, US Open starting tomorrow. What are we looking to see? I think there's going to be, again, the longer hitters for me that are going to be doing well at this event, the likes of Brooks, Even Phil Mickelson, after the USPGA win, he's bombing it out there, hitting it a long way, and he's very good with all sorts of shots. So interestingly, even though he's now just turned 51, I think he's got a good chance as anyone. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. You'll find this daily live and all the others and lots of tips that can help your game all on the YouTube channel. Just please go on there, check it out, subscribe, press the bell for notification, all that good stuff. And keep coming back to these lives, and again, throw in some comments for me. Let me know how you're getting on. If you've got some questions you'd like answering, let me know. If something comes up during your last round and you'd like to understand what to do in that situation or what advice potentially I would give, ask the question and I'll make sure I answer it at the next daily live. So good golfing next week. And one thing I will say, and which is what I'll always leave you with, is that you're only one tip away. And what I mean by that is you're one tip away from either a great round of golf, you're one tip away from more consistency, you're one tip away from enjoying the game more, or bringing your handicap down. You literally are only one tip away. See you at the next live.